Imagine waking up and not knowing if you're still alive, not knowing how many days have passed, not knowing what you saw. This isn't fiction. This isn't a horror film. This happened again and again in the same place. Kalachi is a small, nearly forgotten village in northern Kazakhstan, around 600 people. People accustomed to silence, to wide open spaces, to a life without surprises. But in the autumn of 2013, the surprises found them. It started with the children. One child fell asleep in the middle of class, then another, then a third. Teachers shook them, called their names. Nothing, as if the small bodies had simply been vacated from within. And when they woke up, they started to talk. Imagine the face of a mother listening to her child describe flying horses. Not dreamed, not imagined. Real, visible, close enough to touch. The children of Kalachi saw things they had no words for. Monsters with blurred edges drifting through their bedrooms. People dissolving into walls. Lights rising from beneath the earth. One boy, 8 years old, woke up and could not stop screaming. Not from pain, from something he had seen. Out there, beyond. But the children were not alone. Grown men, workers, farmers, men who had spent their lives refusing to show weakness, collapsed in the street. Women lost entire days from their memory. One man, Alexander, later described being awake and asleep at the same time, standing in two realities at once, unable to tell which was real. Medical examinations found nothing. Hearts were beating, lungs were breathing. Blood tests came back clean. And yet these people were waking up paralyzed, amnesiac, carrying a terror they could not name. By the end of 2013 and into 2014, over 130 residents of Kalachi had been affected. In a village of 600 people, that is nearly 1 in 4. To understand Kalachi, we have to go back, decades back. During the Soviet era, the land surrounding Kalachi was valuable, not for its landscape, but for what was hidden beneath it: uranium. Within just a few kilometers of the village, uranium mines had been actively exploited for years. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the mining complexes were shut down hastily, almost without protocol. Abandoned, sealed, forgotten. Or so it seemed. Scientists sent to Kalachi after the first incidents found something interesting inside those old mines. Radon, a radioactive gas released by the decay of uranium. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. The theory seemed logical. Gases from the abandoned mines were seeping upward, reaching the surface, entering homes, acting on the central nervous system. The official explanation was formed quickly and clearly. The sleeping sickness of Kalachi was caused by exposure to carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide leaking from underground caverns. Case closed. But the locals didn't believe it. If this story fascinates you, hit subscribe to uncover more hidden histories. What do you think really happened in Kalachi? Leave a comment below. When government experts say, "We found the explanation," it's natural to believe them, isn't it? But the people of Kalachi were asking questions that nobody could answer. Question 1. Why did the symptoms come in waves? Sometimes 10 cases in a single day, then nothing for months. Question 2. If this was carbon monoxide, why were the village animals completely unaffected? The dogs, the horses, the livestock. Question 3. Why did gas measurements consistently return normal readings whenever scientists arrived to conduct tests? The locals had their own version. Darker, harder to prove, but also harder to dismiss. They spoke of radiation, of years of contamination nobody had warned them about, of children born with complications, of illnesses, of a mortality rate that was quietly higher than it should have been. They spoke of a government that knew more than it was saying. And there was something else, something the scientists never convincingly explained: the hallucinations. Carbon monoxide causes headaches, nausea, loss of consciousness. But flying horses? Monsters with faces? The sensation of existing in a parallel reality? No medical protocol for carbon monoxide poisoning describes symptoms like these. Not one. In 2015, the Kazakhstani government made a decision. Not to clean up the mines, not to conduct further investigation, but to relocate the village. Families were offered new apartments in the nearby town of Yashil. Most accepted. Some refused to leave the land of their ancestors. And with the relocation, the story went quiet. The media moved on. The scientific research stopped. Kazakhstani authorities declared the matter resolved. But the questions stayed. Who decides how deep we dig? Who decides when an explanation is good enough? And what about the people? The ordinary people in an ordinary, forgotten village whose suffering gets filed under 3 words and archived in a folder nobody will ever open again. Maybe it really was gas from old mines. Maybe the answer is that simple, and we just don't like simple answers. But here's what I know. 130 people lived through something that science had no ready words for. Children saw things that had no pictures in any textbook. And we, from thousands of miles away, read about them on the internet, close the tab, and move on. The question isn't whether Kalachi holds a secret. The question is, are we ready to hear it? Or is it just more comfortable to sleep?